champ select of the night. Berjaya going to be on your blue side, Resurgence on the red. And starting things off, taking away the Syndra away from Raven. I like the Trundle ban.
Yeah.
Enzo no longer can one-trick his beloved pick of the Trundle, the Troll, and no set available here for Resurgence.
Yeah, I am not going to be surprised if Resurgence tries to also ban out the Graves, because Berjaya Dragons Enzo in particular had a phenomenal performance on that champion in particular, or RSG is willing to let that through and Berjaya Dragons is going to first pick Ezreal instead, because that has been the primary pick for K2, or else it might get stolen by Resurgence. We'll have to see what their choice is, as the Syndra ban I really love just for the fact that Raven has solo killed Maowan twice or thrice in that matchup.
So a bit of respect, nice to see. I've been interested. Are we going to see the Varus priority ever come back here? And there is actually going to be a ban directed over toward Mexi. It was one of his kind of go-to pickups during spring outside of the Misfortune. It still can be picked up, actually, currently, even after the nerfs, but not as high priority as it has been just the Ashe and Ezreal show. As well as, all right, Raven, taking a book out of Liab here, as well as what we saw from PSG. Going to go ahead and lock in the Twisted Fate in mid lane.
The thing about Resurgence is that one time you're going to see them with a very standard composition, but another, they're going to switch it up, possibly around Epic and Shinsekai with the mind games, whether or not this one's going to be jungle or topside. And for Berjaya Dragons, we did mention earlier, Graves is a very scary pick for Enzo just because that's his second, I think, great pick when it comes to the jungle, aside from that Trundle. Now, though, for Morgana, still don't know if that's going to be in the mid lane or possibly for Delulu as support.
So there we go. We'll see whether or not that's going to be the case. We have also seen the Morgana run in mid lane from Nestea, so could either get flexed, whether that's going to go mid or support, we'll have to see. For Epic, though, it's kind of his go-to pickup, has been the Lee Sin, one of his favorite champions. We'll see whether or not that's going to be, you know, as effective as they hope for, especially when you're going up against Morgana, that when Lee Sin is rather telegraphed, might be hard to actually get onto your target for a kick.
And it's looking a little bit familiar, too, now that they've picked up Lee Sin. For Resurgence, they've always tried to experiment and pick different unique champions at every single game, but the Ezreal, this Twisted Fate, as well as Lee Sin have been picked twice or thrice already. And if we go down the book of what else can be picked, either, you know, Jace has been picked up by Shinsekai as well, which would really fit the composition of RSG if they do want to be active early.
So getting rid of the Mordekaiser, Wukong, as well as the Ornn. Looks like top lane is going to be the main focus for our final bans here. And we'll see if, you know, Shinsekai, you know, Jensen has anything spicy planned when it comes to this draft. He has been kind of putting Shinsekai on a different array of champions than what he is used to. We saw the Volibear, we've seen the Shyvana, hell, we even saw Soraka back in spring, and it looks like it's going to give him full control of the matchup, as they're not going to show it just yet, instead opting in for the Braum for the support pickup.
Yeah, there's two things. Either you'd see something standard for Shinsekai, like the Jace, like the Ornn, but sometimes, you know, RSG is going to be a little bit braver with possibly the Akali pick, which we've seen be paired with Raven on that Twisted Fate. Constantly would pair up and create pressure in the side lanes. And now, pretty standard for Berjaya Dragons. You know, Mordekaiser is not open. Ozzy's favorite champion, so gonna fall back into that Renekton.
All right, so Renekton getting locked in for Shinsekai. He gets to decide what he wishes to bring up into that matchup. Again, blind Renekton kind of been the go-to standard, and look at that. If it is going to be the Thresh getting locked in, does mean now that Maowan will be taking that Morgana likely into the mid lane.
There's a lot of single target CC forming for the Dragons. Crystal Arrow, you've got the Morgana Binding, and as well as the Death Sentence, and Will ya look at that? It's gonna be the cannon for Shinsekai. A lot of scary team fighting powers so far, forming up for Resurgence.
So I like this from Resurgence. They say, all right, yeah, we have, you know, pretty much single target CC in the form of a gold card as well as the concussive blows that are going to come out from Braum. So they say, all right, let's look at a champion that's just going to CC your entire team. It doesn't matter what shield you put on because we'll try and break it otherwise once we get that magic damage going. So we'll see if that is going to be the case. Requires Shinsekai to be very proactive on his teleports to try and get into the back line of Berjaya, and a lot riding on him, especially in this game.
I'm excited because this composition in general is, I wouldn't say, it's a little bit telegraphed, I suppose. So Berjaya Dragons should be wary of teleport flank, so vision will be extremely important, as the setup will be very convenient for Resurgence on that cannon.
Well, on to the Rift, we get loaded for our final match of the night. A rather important one for both of these squads, both very low in the standings, 8th and 10th respectively, and at this point, you need these wins if you want to claim a slot in playoffs, and we'll see if it's going to be a barn burner of a matchup or if we're going to have ourselves a quick closeout for our night. Was getting a little eerie there. We were very long on the sky, and I was like, "Oh no, did our flying dolly stall out? Are we stuck here on the Rift for the entirety?" I don't know, man. I don't know. Apologies.
It happens.
I don't know about that one, Riku. That's that could be quite a scary situation. I don't know. The Rift is actually
it's a spooky place. Yes.
We said it's a spooky place, but I'm pretty sure someone has done the math, and apparently, like, Summer's Rift is only like a couple football fields long, if that. Apparently, it's not.
But
as
how
big.
high is it from space? I don't know. Because
what?
when you look down,
How high is it from space? Hello. What?
it's getting late into the night. I don't even know why I asked that question.
Did all our energy get taken from that Liab game? Because trust me, I felt like it did too. But we got a soldier on for Resurgence, another team that is having difficulty, to say the very least. I think that's a simple way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
They themselves, you could easily say, you know, a victory here is still considered an upset. So maybe it is the night of upsets when it comes to our bottom table squads, at least when it comes to lower standing teams. We saw PSG, they went 0-2 today, which was unexpected, to say the very least. I don't think anyone expected that. I'm pretty sure none of our talent expected that. I actually looked. No one did, all right? I think everyone
No one voted for Liab.
No, unfortunately, the hope wasn't there, but apparently they didn't need our hope to take home the victory.
They're fine on their own. Yes, sirree. Okay. Yeah. For Resurgence, though, this time around, Mawan here on this Morgana will definitely help out when it comes to neutralizing the single target CC, at least, coming from that gold card with a black shield. So just gotta get that timings correctly. And I think for Resurgence, we'll have a little bit of difficulty if they do want to get that pick. Have to target they have to select their targets carefully.
Yeah, it's gonna be rather difficult to kind of blow up K2. So I'm interested, like, during some of these fights, if we see Resurgence actually try and focus more onto this Morgana to try and at least force her to blow a black shield early. And then you can actually see them try and aggress onto K2. That's kind of always been going to be the gatekeeper when it comes to Resurgence on their aggression is the Black Shield up and available, or does the Morgana have enough mana?
I think the big difference is when Resurgence and as well as the Berjaya Dragons fought last time, I do believe Resurgence focused heavily banning on towards K2, forcing this player to go on a Jinx, which K2 rarely uses, would only use it when there's nothing left. But so far, though, this is a comfy lane.
Lulu gets himself a nice hook, but deciding not to go and pull the trigger to try and get a quick play on over. Rom is able to soak up a decent amount of damage, and a nice Dark Binding actually coming out here from Mawon in the lane.
Yeah, nicely done. The difference is, though, for Mawon, has that teleport to match Raven, but Raven has 2 teleports with that Destiny and teleport on board. So if ever, Raven will definitely have the upper hand. No Black Shield for safety against that gold card. And for K2, no cleanse whatsoever as well.
It's not all half bad. It's a rather quiet start. We're not seeing any early level 2, level 3 ganks coming out of our junglers, and I think for Resurgence, it's kind of going to be a gatekeeping here on whether or not they are able to actually use anything come level 6. We're going to be seeing whether or not Raven is going to try and roam, if Shinsekai is going to try and go for a teleport. Actually, shout out to Shinsekai here. He is in a range versus melee matchup. He should be ahead, but usually, actually, when we see him lane, he's actually usually behind. So to see him actually up at the moment against Ozzy is a nice change of pace here for the top lane of Resurgence.
Yeah, absolutely. As normally, you know, a lot of the junglers would like to focus on Shinsekai, especially when he is on a carry champion. Therefore, the pressure shifts towards that. Therefore, want to shut him down early. But for now, you know, Enzo will definitely have to focus on power farming, get himself ahead as well. And we'll see, because priority, so far, it has been even. The lanes have been meeting in the middle. First dragon has already spawned.
The first dragon underway here for Berjaya if they wish to take it. They're just going to go ahead and clear out some of the vision. Maybe just see whether or not Resurgence are actually going to try and respond here. Shinsekai does have level 6 as well as teleport, but again, it's a itemless teleport from a cannon. Not a whole lot of pressure coming out from the mid lane nor that bot side, so it looks like Berjaya will be able to take this uncontested to start off their match here against Resurgence.
Yeah, even though not a lot of information where Epic was, the fact that Berjaya duo bot lane had priority, therefore had a lot of room to take that dragon. And so far, we'll have to see. By the time everybody else is going to be level 6, the first Rift Herald fight would usually occur. Some of the teams, if not comfortable, would give it up. But for Berjaya Dragons, they have, again, a lot of single target CC. Therefore, if they're able to remove one, because everyone is pretty much squishy. Epic, Raven, and Mexi are on very squishy champions, and they're capable of bursting someone down with a collateral damage, and it's going to be an instant 4v5.
And there we see also from Enzo, just going to go ahead and get a quick invade there. Take that one again away from Raven. Epic a little bit late to the party. Did see this guy actually get taken, so they might actually roam up and try and force Enzo to have to back off. No level 6 available for Epic. Enzo going to go ahead and try and get the dash, has collateral down, as well as the exhaust. Raven coming on over, wants to try and find the kill, and there you go, first blood going in favor of Resurgence. Delulu, though, not afraid to pull the trigger as Ozzy went for a teleport himself. No teleport being called just yet from Shinsekai because he used it to get back into lane. And it looks like from there, it will be the call to just go for the disengage. Shinsekai maybe will get one turret plate here, but first blood on over to Resurgence.
Enzo, a little bit greedy without the help of, you know, Delulu for that invade, and as well as, again, Mawon not being nearby, so a little bit comfortable heading over for that invade, and not a lot of respect.
So nicely done. They're able to at least punish Enzo for that early aggression. Does mean, though, Enzo not afraid. We'll say, all right, you know what? Know that Lee Sin is probably still clearing out the spot side of the jungle. Cool. We'll go ahead, pick up the Rift Herald, at least get something back for our single death that we just had.
RSG, though, making their way here. I think it's a little bit too late already, so they're going to concede. And yeah, I think that's a great exchange over one death in exchange of that Rift Herald. They're able to funnel it into key members. Most of the time, it is K2 on the AD carry that they would wish to funnel, unless they want to get Ozzy ahead. There are moments where Ozzy would just be snowballing out of control. Sometimes on the Mordekaiser, maybe perhaps on this Renekton.
Yeah, I was about to say, the last time we saw Ozzy, like, absolutely take over a game, I think it was something like his 14-1-6, like, Mordekaiser game. Other than that, it's been rather quiet. He's consistent, but we don't see him too often just blowing out the game out of proportion via his lane and getting a simple advantage and turning it into a massive goal.
Yeah, it's always been very consistent, very safe, as Enzo would focus on the other lanes instead. Again, especially towards K2, they would usually drop the Rift Herald back at Spring and funnel as much gold as they can on towards the AD carry.
And with that here, Raven also now has his level 6. We did actually get to see him use that Destiny as he went for that roam when Enzo got caught out in the jungle. So it's nice to see there's actually some communication also coming out here of Resurgence, but it does kind of feel that we're kind of having to wait here on our next objective, which will be our second dragon of the game in about a minute 15 to see the next little bit of action.
Yeah, for sure, as Berjaya Dragons do have dibs in terms of vision control over that dragon side. So far, so good for the Dragons to at least have that advantage when it comes to map space. For Resurgence, though, we haven't really seen any sort of gank just yet. It was very a reactionary turn once Enzo was a little bit aggressive over that invade.
And back goes Epic here, as he's been paying a lot of attention toward the bot side of the map, but we do see Berjaya maybe looking to set up a possible gank here into the mid lane. Instead, no, they say, let's go ahead, deny some of this vision, and we can look for our second dragon of the game, which is either going to be forming toward an Ocean Soul or possibly a Cloud Soul. You see, though, K2 getting rather aggressive. Kick goes on in. They're not able to finish off the kill. Gold card is there, but there is your Black Shield, which prevents this Twisted Fate from having an impact, and with that, it's going to be a double kill going in favor of Enzo.
And when we're talking about gold card timings, we were talking about Black Shield timings, and Berjaya has won that game in particular, and unfortunately, despite RSG having to commit so much to eliminate K2, it was mission not accomplished, and we mentioned about funneling gold on towards K2, and it has been working so far for the Dragons.
I feel like that's very much a play that you can't make unless you also commit Shinsekai to come down here for the possible play. Because like we mentioned, the idea of this cannon is going to be able to at least apply stacks as well as stuns to multiple members outside of just the one member that has that Black Shield. So unfortunately not a whole lot they can do with that one.
It all started with a kick, but K2 still had that flash and Black Shield. Perfect timing as the gold card drops, and it's going to be an easy collapse as, you know, Mexi isn't able to finish off targets just because there's just so much body blocking involved. And Ozzy almost died, actually. Used a flash.
Yeah, you see their ultimate's on cooldown, as it looks like Epic and Shinsekai were at least trying to make a play here. I think Epic's still on cooldown from the previous fight, but it does mean they're maybe trying to get Shinsekai unlocked from this lane. Instead, though, Ozzy's just going to stick around, soak up some of that experience before he can head on back to the base when his teleport is available for him to return.
Yeah, Shinsekai does, as you mentioned, does have his teleport up, but there's not a lot of objectives to take just yet, unless RSG pulls the trigger once more at the bottom side of the map, which is a little bit tricky considering the fact that, again, that cold card, that Black Shield can only save one, but Shinsekai is at least able to stun as much as he can.
So we see here at least from Resurgence, they're actually the first ones to opt into the lane swap. Shinsekai, you need to be careful.
Oh,
he
no.
gets caught out. That's going to be Enchanted Crystal Arrow as Delulu flashing on forward for the Flay as Shinsekai, nice dodge at least coming out from him to avoid that death sentence. But unfortunately, does have to use this flash, which I think he would love to have for an upcoming fight.
Yeah, that's the thing. You do get that Proto Bell at least to make up for teleports coming though.
Oh, okay. He says, I don't care. I don't need might flash to get into the back line, but in comes Malon. There comes the answer from Berjaya as they're able to shut down Shensekai instantly as Ozzy picks himself up his first kill of the game. Descends does connect as well. Raven's left out to dry. That's going to be 2 kills just given on over by Resurgence.
There's just so much denial for the Dragons' composition. Again, the Black Shield is doing a lot of work, and the fact that Berjaya had a better collapse than RSG, and every teleport was up for the Dragon side, and therefore Resurgence, even though they're the first one to pull the trigger, it's still not going to be enough, as it's still going to be a 5v5 situation up on.
And the one highlight that you're going to say, all right, cool, Shensekai was able to get a good flank, but it's still so early on, and there's no real follow-up as far as damage goes that Malon's able to match with a teleport. It's just unfortunate.
And then Enzo was not even around during the fight as well. And yeah, the teleport locations of the wards were just very convenient for that collapse on the Dragons' side. And because of that, big space again in favor of the Dragons. And look at that. They are getting another Rift Herald for themselves.
So there you go. Second Shelly in their back pocket. We'll see whether or not they're able to find a good pick in one of the side lanes. Also got to mention, too, you're starting to get your first items to come online. There's also the Warriors Enchant for the Graves. You also have GLP completed for the Morgana. And I do believe that was a Black Cleaver now online for Ozzy. So nice points as well. Alongside that board, too. So everyone actually finishing off their first tier item.
Yeah, for Mexi, still going to be waiting a little bit on that Manamune stacks, and as well as his secondary item, Power Spike, whatever he would decide to pick up next. Either perhaps the Gauntlet if he decides to become a little bit more defensive. But then again, you know, I'm worried just because of Ozzy. Could be a big crocodile that could be on his face constantly. And with the assistance of a Black Shield, it would just be free reign for Ozzy to keep going.
Yeah, an unstoppable Renekton is a bit of a concern, to say the very least. You never want to see Ozzy just trying to run you down with a Black Shield on top of him. It's not a feels good, to say the very least. I'll see back, though. Shensekai at least has his Sork boots. He's going to get a little bit extra damage, but still a little while before this cannon really comes online. And we kind of had this moment which it felt like Resurgence were going to be able to make plays. But now Berjaya, now that they've unlocked themselves from the lane phase, can start roaming around with this Ashe. And like we just saw, fishing for some arrows as Dragon now going to be spawned. And looks like that's going to be the third Dragon here for Berjaya.
Very scary for Resurgence. Berjaya is just very close to that Dragon Soul point. I don't think there's going to be a true shot barrage steal.
Mexi was close.
Destiny popped.
That's also Destiny. Raven just wanted to see where everybody was. That does allow them to at least force in mid lane, it seems, on the side of Resurgence and try and equal out this turret number to 1-1. But still think they need a little bit more damage here. It's only at half health.
And the fact that it's, of course, an Ezreal on the opposite side, so sieging will be much slower. Not a lot of wave clear to work with when it comes to the wave clear department, I suppose, as True Shot Barrage was already used. Yeah.
And now we just kind of sink back, it seems, here, as Resurgence, as well as Berjaya, it doesn't really feel like they want to try and go for anything crazy, which, for me, like I'll say Berjaya are playing rather good. They've been playing very reactive, to say the very least. They've been able to respond to any aggression that's being put out by Resurgence. But we're still kind of lacking that high aggression that you know, made a lot of fans actually fall in love with the team back in spring, where they weren't afraid to just go for plays and try and outskill their opponents. Instead, being a lot more passive, which, to be fair, these are wins that they need to secure. But still, I know a lot of people would miss that kind of style from them.
Yeah, for the Berjaya Dragons, at least, they were for me, personally, I would call them like a chameleon team. They would adjust accordingly depending on who they're up against. If they're hyper-aggressive, then they're great when it comes to punishing the teams. And if they're too passive, then they would like to, you know, dive a little bit more when it comes to the first early moments of the games. And there is a hook towards Boxer. He has a QSS and a stopwatch, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to try and eliminate him right off the bat.
He already paid the QSS tax as a Braum. He got QSS
Yes, he did. Before Mexi.
Before Crucible.
Wait
a sec. Hold on. He got a QSS instead of a Crucible. Okay. Interesting. I'm pretty sure that doesn't, like, I'm pretty sure QSS only builds into Scimitar, unless...
Dude, Mercurial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not part of Crucible.
Yeah, yeah, I had to double check if I was imagining things, but yeah.
So instead of, you know, getting safety for his bot lane, he's like, all right, I'm going to get selfish and getting QSS for myself. All right, fair enough. Mexi does have cleanse himself, though, so it does mean he has some safety as long as he has that summoner available. He's also an Ezreal. It's rather difficult to catch him out. But interesting little path there coming out from Boxer as you take a look now. Turret in top lane is going to fall down. That's now going to be a 3,000 gold lead in favor of Berjaya. Resurgence, though, starting to get some second items because they did have some cheap buys as Zhonya's completed there for Raven, as well as Black Cleaver now available for the Lee Sin.
Yeah, items are coming online too for Resurgence so far, but whether or not they want to rely on the Ezreal at this point is still not at that point that they wish to be in. Considering that Berjaya Dragons, especially, again, all of the lanes have been not punished or haven't been shut down. Therefore, they would rather fight when the Ezreal is ready to combo it with Shinsekai's AoE presence. So it is a gauntlet.
Yeah, it's going to be the gauntlet, just looking for a little bit extra safety as well as kiting ability when it comes to this Ezreal. Do note, though, that Malon's now finished off his Spooky Ghost, now Twin Shadows completed, with the Glacial as well. Going to be able to try and lock down a lot of these key targets, and that's not a whole lot of fun to play against if you're on the side of Resurgence. As well as Runan's also coming online now for K2 on this Ashe.
Yeah, it's not pretty, considering the fact that you already have the Ashe for massive slows, and Mawon adds to that with the Spooky Ghosts.
Now Boxer, he'll jump in front of his 80 carry. Unfortunately, even with the QSS, there's only so much you can do. Ends up putting down the shield as Epic goes for a ride. Unfortunately, goes to ride for his death. Ozzy as well with the flank. Shinsekai way too late to the party. Might want to try and turn around. Ends up popping the ultimate. Gets some massive damage. Can he turn around the fight? It's only going to be one member getting taken down. It is a double tail. Raven just flashing into point blank range. Able to get the gold card off onto the Ashe. In the end, it will be 4 members of Resurgence taken down for the price of 2 in favor of Berjaya.
Okay. That ult from Shinsekai was perfect. But what's sad is everybody else is pretty much dead. But we can see the potential of that setup. It would have been extremely deadly. You pair that stun, that 5-man stun, with Mexi's True Shot Barrage, and everything will just follow through with finishers here and there. And unfortunately, that's not the setup that RSG is able to acquire, because not only you've got the Crystal Arrow, QSS already popped, you've got the Spooky Ghost slowing down the Braum. Stopwatch bought some time, but it did not buy time for what's to come, which is Ozzy cutting the retreat path of RSG. They wanted to run, but they can't.
Unfortunately there, Epic, he kind of got just dragged in because of the Lantern. It was a bit of a feels bad, and I'll give it to Shinsekai. He's going full AP at this point. You know, he's a pretty scary Pikachu at the moment. But still a little longer until he evolves into the overall just insane level of threat that Resurgence need him to be. And on top of that too, that was also Cloud Soul taken on the side of Berjaya. Get some extra cooldown reduction in the ultimates. That's something that Resurgence would have loved to have, as the Ashe will excel with it. As you see now on, again, Boxer, this QSS is getting a lot of use out of him, I won't lie. As he gets himself to safety.
Yeah, safety at the moment, at least, as Berjaya Dragons has used everything. Spooky Ghosts, GLP, and as well as the Ash Arrow. And yeah, from Mexi, this is already having his Muramana fully stacked. Raven's fine. He has cleanse.
So there we are. It's now Resurgence having to deal with the push that's going to come out here from Berjaya. Another one being fished there from now on the side. Forces out the cleanse from Raven. Luckily, he's running Spellbook, so he's going to swap that out for a different summoner at the very least, but does mean the TF is going to be down some safety. So no Crucible for Boxer, has been able to really pick up any farm himself. Means Raven and Mexi, when those cleanses are not available, are going to be kind of left out to dry possibly here, and might be just, you know, easy pickings when it comes to Berjaya. That's going to be another ultimate coming out from the Ash into the Death Sentence. There you go.
No!
Boom goes the HP. That's going to be another kill going in favor of K2 as Destiny's popped by Raven, but can't really do anything in response.
And their air quote CC absorber is eliminated. And yeah, it is very easy because all they have to do is Boxer just standing in front of any of the targets and then QSS and eat the CC. But he's not available now, and therefore Berjaya Dragons is free to bully out Resurgence in their siege.
And also for me, too, is you got 2 Cloud Souls. It allows this Ash Arrow to be available for majority of these fights. It was already halfway finished before we got into this replay, and that's just going to add to the big potential here on the side of Berjaya, which, like, it just works out. This is what their team comp does. They don't need to go for massive team fights up against Shinsekai. In most cases, they should be able to avoid them.
Yeah, they just pick one out. Whoever eats the arrow will die. Whoever doesn't have a QSS, doesn't have a cleanse, will immediately die because the chain CC, not only do they have a lot of slows, they have a lot of hard CC at that, and a lot of damage to boot. When it comes to the Berjaya squad, and after they manage to get one pick, they kill a tower, then they move on to another objective off of the map.
Well, for Shinsekai has been able to at least finish off his Morellos, which I'm trying to think, what is your okay, you got some lifesteal. I feel like you could have went Leandri in this case if you wanted to be that massive team fight carry, but opting in for just the flat pen versus the health percent damage when you're going up against Renekton. Bold choice, but we'll see how it is. A whole lot of MR items actually being built up here by Berjaya, mainly just going to be the Merc Treads as well as the 1 Bulwark coming out for Enzo. As well as Ozzy. Actually, yeah, he could have went Leandri's if he wanted to. The classic.
Yeah, just
classic fight between Morellos and Leandri's.
Leandri's.
Oh
shit! Wow, what a root.
That was right root. Malhan, he's like, I don't care about this. I don't care this about anything you throw at me. I have a black shield, and there you go. Easy kill. Maybe a little bit overkill coming out from Berjaya, but hell, it takes down Shinsekai, and that is your major threat when it comes to these Baron fights.
Yeah, and at this point, you know, got the Cloud Soul in. And at this point of the game too, generally speaking, a lot of the ults are in relatively low cooldown already. They're okay to just use that. Resurgence though, Shinsekai does have teleport.
Well, the thing is, Malon can just try and slow everyone down. Death Sentence not going to connect, but you see
they canceled.
Connection as Ozzy on the teleport, able to jump in, didn't even use it, just got a good flank in his favor. And that is going to be the support as well as the jungle getting taken down. Berjaya can again instantly turn back toward the Baron.
All right, no jungler from RSG, no support, therefore no air quote front line. Oh no, Raven!
Lulu able to find himself a nice connection there onto Raven, and unfortunately Shinsekai can't do a whole lot here. Has his ultimate available, but decides not to pull the trigger, even though needs to find a turnaround if he's on the side there. Ozzy with the teleport flank himself. Arrow will not connect. Shinsekai deciding he will not use his ultimate. Still on cooldown. It's the ace for Berjaya, and a very clean team fight coming out from the Malaysian-based organization squad.
Yeah, very clean, very confident, and it's so different from when we saw these two teams faced each other in the first round robin. It was Resurgence acquiring that victory, and the Dragons seemed very lost. But now, we did mention, you know, Trundle is taken out of the table. Enzo falls back into the graves, which he has a very phenomenal performance on this champion in particular. And Resurgence, you know what? They're okay with that challenge. And so far, it has been working well for the Dragons.
Yeah, Dragons at the moment are kind of set up to close out this game pretty much whenever they want. Sooner the better, actually, because you don't really want Resurgence scaling any backup when you're going up against like that cannon as well as a Twisted Fate Ezreal. There's a lot of burst damage in that competition. As we'll take a look back here with how we started peeling off the Baron from Berjaya.
Yeah, look at a lot of slows coming from Malon here. The Glacial Augment. And Ozzy keeps making these amazing flanks, which really ruins the positioning of Resurgence in general. And with that said, at least you got that teleport from Shinsekai. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. I think RSG hesitated a little bit. Does Shinsekai want to enter the fight? But his ult was on cooldown, therefore the setup was not perfect.
And yeah, unfortunately for Shinsekai, not a whole lot you can do here. Cannon, Black Wolves icons come out, the ace for Berjaya, and back toward the Baron. They go now at 30 minutes in the match here against Resurgence.
Raven has Destiny, but not a lot of vision at the moment for at the Baron pit. So this is, they know, but it's free and it's too late.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
Now, unfortunately there too, those Baron fights as well as Dragon fights are optimal conditions for Shinsekai to find a flank or a teleport, but now none of that is going to be up here for 4 minutes, so they might have to make a hold at one of the inhibitor towers as he has come back to fight, but already that tower going to get taken down immediately. Rabadon's also online here for Malon. Every member of Berjaya practically up by one whole item. And looking a bit dire here, unfortunately, Resurgence. It might be a slow death in their base as Berjaya not relenting here on the push as top lane now going to be sieged in.
Yeah, Resurgence is gonna have a hard time eliminating prime targets from the Dragons. If the Black Shield already gave them a hard time, you know, Phantom Dancer already for K2, Crucible for Delulu. Nice hook.
Nice hook.
There's the QSS though.
Boxer though, that QSS has gone its usage out of it, all right? So you see Berjaya confident on this push with Baron buff. Another hook going to connect. Shinsekai wants to try to bring this one back around, able to find himself onto 5 members of Berjaya Dragons, but still not enough damage at this point. Ozzy not afraid of this. K2 finds himself another double kill on the Ashe, and the push will continue. Berjaya Dragons get the revenge up against Resurgence. Enzo on a rampage, and for Resurgence, it was only a pure whimper of life, it seemed, here up against Berjaya Dragons as they get taken down 18-3.
And that's gonna be another win for the Dragons. Revenge, as the overall standing against these two teams would be 1-1. And yep, they managed to get the revenge against RSG.
So unfortunately there, not a whole lot to be said. It just kind of felt like that, I don't know, there's a level 6 that was supposed to happen from Resurgence, but there wasn't a whole lot they could do with the fact that that Morgana pick came out and just kind of shut down their composition.
Shut down their composition, and the very last moment where, you know, the last attempt to turn the game around for RSG, you've got Delulu with a perfectly timed exhaust when Shinsekai came in. So there's not a lot of damage value that came out when the attack happened.
Yeah, like, unfortunately, this is how it goes. And there are also just so much utility on the side of Berjaya. The fact that you have a Glacial Augment, Spooky Ghost, as well as a GLP. You saw so many times that, like, Boxer was getting caught out there on the Braum. He literally used that QSS more than I think any AD carries had to use it in the PCS so far. He kept soaking up all these dark bindings. And take a look back on, you know, what was kind of a typical fight here for Resurgence.
Yeah, props to, you know, Boxer here with the QSS, being that MVP to shield incoming CC away from the carries and being that CC soaker. But at the end of the day, Berjaya Dragons had so much space to grow, especially Enzo's side on the Graves. A lot of damage. This was perfect for RSG if the carries were alive, but unfortunately it was already too late. K2 at the end of the day was around 8-1-2 or something in his KDA. Everyone is actually insane in the Dragons.
Yeah, no, Dragons, they only dropped 3 kills in total. So a very clean game coming out from them. And unfortunately, Resurgence, it's much of the same when it comes to their summer split here so far. When is there going to be changes? When is action going to be put to these words of saying, hey, this is a development split, or at least half of it is for development? And unfortunately, it's really hard to say, you expect this team to even make playoffs the way they have been performing so far in summer.
Yeah, it's looking very tough for Resurgence, especially that this is a match that they've already went up against in summer. They managed to defeat the Dragons in the first round robin, and unfortunately, this game did not look close at all.
Yeah, there was that little hint of hope from, you could say, Shinsekai with that damage that we started to see from his Kennen ultimate, but if there's no follow-up, there's not a whole lot that can be done. And MVP going to go on over to Enzo for his performance over on the Graves.
Yeah, well-deserved MVP from Enzo. Not on the Trundle this time, but it works out on one of his best picks in the jungle, which is the Graves. Has been invading the camps here and there. That first invade didn't work out so well, but the next one was actually very good for him.
Well, if it don't work the first time, try again. It seemed to be the mentality when it came to Berjaya, and especially here coming into this matchup, where first time around they went up against Resurgence. They actually lost out, and that's been Resurgence's sole win so far when it comes to the summer split. So they get a little bit of revenge back there and say, all right, even if you tie us, well, guess what? We now have a tiebreaker that we have to play out, and we'll take the chance that we can beat you in that third game if it comes down to that case for playoffs.
Enzo 来接受我们的访问。
Enzo，
请你先跟荧幕前的观众朋友们打声招呼吧。
Hello， 大家好，我是 Berjaya Resurgence 的 Enzo。
好，那 Enzo 你好，先是恭喜你们在这场比赛之中赢下了非常漂亮的一场。那我们这边的话有几个问题想要请问你们，你们这场比赛的中路选手茂安拿出了摩甘娜中路，在这个角色的话其实算是说非常少见的。那你们是有什么样特殊的战术考量吗？
So your mid laner, Maoan, picked Morgana in the mid lane. So why do you guys pick it? Is it because that you guys want to create a ban pick strategy around this champion? Or is it because that you're using it against Twisted Fate?
因为摩甘娜这角色茂安算蛮拿手的，然后这角色也有摇摆位的价值，所以我们在决定选摩甘娜的时候，就是考虑这2点，所以才选出摩甘娜这角色的。
So first of all, because Maoan is really good with this champion. The second of all, if we choose Morgana, we can use it in a couple of different lanes. So I think these are the 2 reasons that we chose Morgana today.
那这场比赛的确也是可以看到茂安摩甘娜算是完全压制住对方的匿名，
蛮经手的。那当然第二个问题就是问茂安很奇怪嘛，毕竟是你来访问，所以还是要回到你身上，因为你在夏季赛目前比较特殊的点就是你在目前的11场比赛里面，你只使用过了2只打野英雄，一直是格雷夫跟一只是特朗德。我想问为什么？还有你是不是还有其他的选项可以做考虑的？
So up until so far, you've only used 2 jungle champion. One is Trundle, the other is Graves. Are we able to see you play other champions, maybe?
因为格雷夫跟特朗德就是版本强势角嘛，那我们也会在团练的状况来决定说我比赛会出哪个角色。那接下来可能还会有其他角色，只是全部都会依照团练的状况来决定我们会选择哪些角色。
So because Trundle and Graves are 2 strong champions in this patch, that's why we picked it so far. But it depends on the scrims. So if there are other champions that I can use that shows pretty good results in scrims, we'll definitely use it.
OK 那我们这边的话也得知到说，今天好像是你的生日哦。那这个盛场呢，我觉得也算是一个非常棒的生日礼物。那我们这边的话也是希望你能够在这边许下自己的3个愿望。那第3个当然是说，我们按照惯例，希望自己能够保留。那就麻烦你在荧幕面前跟大家讲一下你今年的这个2个生日愿望。
So today is your birthday. Happy birthday! So you can please make 3 wishes for us and keep the last one for yourself.
好，那第一个就是希望能一路进入到季后赛，然后拿到至少前4的成绩。 然后第二个就是希望队友都能健健康康、平平安安的。然后对，
只有队友吗
第三个就默许一下。
可以祝我们也平平安安。
没事，我们应该是很平安啦。除了我欠的钱比较多一点之外，应该是蛮平安的。
我们让翻译一下。
So first off, I wish that we can make it into playoffs and become the top 4 teams. Second of all, I hope that all my teammates and my coaches are very healthy and happy. The third one, I'm just gonna keep it for myself.
OK 好，那我们也是谢谢Enzo接受我们的访问，也
生日快乐
再次祝你生日快乐。那今天的比赛的话呢，也是到此就是告一段落，画下一个。
Well, happy birthday on over there to Enzo, as he'll get the birthday win. Maybe a little bit later for him than he probably wanted. I don't know if they'll be able to get a team dinner in for his birthday, but nonetheless, I think they'll be happy that they're able to at least pick up the victory, and that ends up widening the gap a little bit between them and the bottom of the table as we take a look back at the happenings that happened here for today. Taipei J team opening things off with a victory over Hong Kong Attitude. PSG dropping both their games. Out of the norm for them, and just saying that fact to begin with, but then also dropping it to Liab, which unfortunately for them weren't able to get this 2-0. We're going only 1-1, but I think they'll be happy. Of course, the debut that was from World 6 was able to come alive and help carry Alpha across the finish line for the victory. AHQ able to take down Nova, and like we just saw, Berjaya Dragons able to take down Resurgence.
Yeah, what a wild day, honestly. I feel like so far I will be sleeping soundly tonight with a smile just because of that amazing upset. I think that is the biggest upset we've seen so far in PCS from spring to up until today.
Yeah, it's up there. It's up there with the things
there.
I did not expect to see here today, to say the very least here. So we'll see now whether or not that was a one-off fluke here for Liab, or is Liab, especially considering how they played this week, back into the action? Are they going to be looking for a way back into playoffs? You do that up against a team like, I don't know, Hong Kong Attitude or even, Nova. Those should be games that you take home. So we'll see whether or not that's going to be the case, as unfortunately for Resurgence, they still sit at a 1-win record now with 9 losses, which unfortunately for them too, not a great look, as they still have a couple games in hand, but still a lot of work to do. Top of the table though, kind of wide open when it comes to that mid-section with that loss for PSG, as they weren't able to add on 2 wins and finish second above HQ and Machi.
Yeah, and the middle of the pack teams, I feel like, HKA used to be at second place at the first round robin, now looking a little bit similar to what happened at the previous split.
And then, of course, we do have action tomorrow coming your way. We're going to take things off with Alpha taking on PSG. So we'll see if PSG can actually find a win at all when it comes to their week 5 here so far. Then we have a pretty stellar matchup. That's going to be J Team taking on AHQ. Should be one hell of a matchup. Berjaya versus Alpha once again. And then Resurgence, another toughie here on their plate. It's going to be Machi they go up against.
And we're going to have another LSD special with Liab against Nova Esports. And another interesting matchup to top the night off, which is Resurgence versus HKA.
Yeah, if you are a fan of Southeast Asia, that second half right there is going to be plenty of fun when it comes to their games. We'll see if, Hong Kong Attitude are exploitable in the state that they currently are in after losing out to Taipei J Team, or if, maybe they're able to restructure and able to take back a game over Resurgence. But for us, that of course is the end of our broadcast. So special thank you guys for tuning on in. As always, if you enjoyed the show, you guys can be sure to follow our pages, whether that's going over on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, LOL Pacific, as well as our Twitter feed for our English audience, LOL Esports PCS, where you guys can keep up with all the action. If you enjoyed us as well, you guys can follow our individual Twitters. Be sure to use the exclamation mark casters over on Twitch chat. For now, though, we're going to call it a night. Thank you for tuning on in to the PCS, and we'll see you tomorrow.